Horst Fischer was one of the doctors who awaited the arrival of trains at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Alongside the likes of Josef Mengele, he decided who would live on in the camp as a slave labourer and who would die in the gas chamber. Thus, he was directly responsible for thousands of deaths. There were cases where doctors went to Auschwitz and they were shocked when they arrived at what they saw. One doctor, thinking that this was just another posting, even went there with his wife. However, I think that Fischer knew precisely what to expect. Horst Fischer arrived at Auschwitz on the 6th of November 1942. Here he was directly subordinate to the site doctor, Edward Wirz. In 1943, Fischer was promoted to SS Hauptsturmführer. Fischer was initially a troop doctor at Auschwitz and also at the Janina Gruber and Jawiszowice camps. Janina Gruber, today Libion's Mauer in Poland, was a camp which held prisoners who worked in 3 coal mines as well as British prisoners of war. Jawiszowice, today Jawiszowice in Poland, was a subcamp of Auschwitz where prisoners worked in coal mines. At these camps it would seem that Fischer did not come into contact with the inmates, except perhaps the British prisoners of war. Later Fischer became the successor to Friedrich Entress in his role as camp doctor at the production facility of IG Farben on the Buhnewerke site at the Auschwitz III Monowitz camp. He started this position as from November 1943, at the latest. At Auschwitz-Monowitz, Fischer was responsible for carrying out selections of prisoners, those being unfit in his opinion being sent to their murder. Thaddeus S., an inmate doctor, referred to Horst Fischer and Friedrich Entress as the worst murderers, with faces like priests, but ice cold. Horst Fischer eventually became the deputy site doctor at Auschwitz. As from the end of May 1944, trainloads of Jewish people from Hungary began to arrive at Auschwitz. This created a problem for the doctors at the camp. There were not enough doctors to be on call in order to decide who should live and who should die. The head of the medical staff, Edward Wirz, demanded that the pharmacists also attend at the ramp, but to increase efficiency he decreed that the 24-hour shifts be replaced by 12-hour shifts. Many of the doctors present took to drink, particularly those that had to work through the night, so that by the end of their shift they were making decisions on who should live and who should die through a drunken haze. On the 21st of June 1944, Fischer was promoted to Hauptsturmführer, making him one of the highest-ranking SS doctors at Auschwitz. In September 1944, Hans Wilhelm König succeeded him as camp doctor in Monowitz. As well as selections for death, Fischer ordered punishments, mainly whippings for small infractions of camp rules. These whippings could also lead to death. Fischer is reported to have said, "We have gone so far that we can no longer go back." This can be interpreted morally, as Der Spiegel did many years later in a 1988 article. The evil could no longer be undone. Interpreted psychologically, this means anyone who runs a murderous machine for a certain amount of time is no longer able to stop, because atrocity begets atrocity. Continuing to kill becomes a psychological necessity in order to justify that very killing and see it as something other than what it really is. After the end of the war, Fischer had his SS blood group tattoo removed and settled down to life as a doctor under his real name in Gotzow near Brandenburg an der Havel, and later using a different name in Spreenhagen, Fürstenwalde district, as a country doctor. This was in the Soviet zone, later to become East Germany.